so the family, I guess, is happy with that. All right, it's 1 o'clock, gang. We have a 1 o'clock appointment. So welcome everyone. I am sharing my screen and you can't see me. So for those that care to look, here I am. Super. So I kind of like, I'll tell everyone a little bit about who I am. And for those of you that don't know me, I know Bill knows who I am on Zoom, but then I'm going to want to find out a little bit about you guys too, because I always want to know kind of experience level of folks that I'm working with. So I first got my real estate license when I was 16, actually, in the state of Missouri. My parents were brokers for 50 years and didn't do anything with it, just got it. And then they changed actually the laws in Missouri that you have to be 18. So I think I might be the youngest agent ever in the state of Missouri.
So you were 15 when
16.
You got it? Oh, 16?
Yeah.
Scary. Did you do anything with it?
Nope, not a thing. Went to college in Dallas, was planning on going to law school. My family has attorneys and judges in it, but I had guys that I was going to college with, getting out of school, making 6 figures in real estate, commercial real estate in Dallas. I said, I think I want to do that instead. Then the S&L crisis hit, and some of you have no idea what I'm talking about, but so
it's savings and loan, nothing exciting.
Yeah, savings and loans were not regulated, and so they did a bunch of unregulated lending, and that through that unregulated lending process, we had a bunch of bad real estate happen, and the federal government had to step in. And I actually worked for the national real estate firm that was handling the properties for the Resolution Trust Corporation. I did that for about 5 years in the late 80s, early 90s. Took an entrepreneurial path, left real estate, got into the medical technology field area, did that for about 20 years, started 7 early stage companies, sold a business to ADP, the payroll company. The division that bought me was based here in Sarasota. I had to come with the business to make it run. 2 years later, ADP decided to close the division that acquired me, offered me a job in New Jersey. I said, I'm in Sarasota, I'm not going to New Jersey. So did a couple of other little fun things for a couple of years. That's when I met Bill Bambrick in another world. And did he leave us now? Oh, Bill was online, but I guess when he saw it was me, he got out. And then I joined Keller Williams in 2012. And the way I got here, some of you know Steve Dutois, he was my former partner. Steve came out to my house to bid on being the listing agent for it. We were thinking about selling. It's about 2008. And prices before 2008 were going crazy. And I said, it's time to sell. Well, I was past the curve to sell. Steve looked at my house and said, you're not going to get what you want for it. Why do you want to move? Well, just for a change of pace. He said, I'd stay here if I were you. You have a beautiful home. And he walks out the door. And I looked at my wife. I said, I hired a real estate agent to come out here and list my house. He told me not to list and walked out the door. I like that guy. So when I decided to get into real estate, I called Steve and he said, where do I need to go? He goes, Keller Williams might be interested in a guy like you. I don't know. I'll set you up with somebody. I thought it was exclusive.
That's fine. He didn't get to where he's at for not.
So I joined Keller Williams. A few years later, Steve and I partnered up. I have been growing a team. We've recently decided to go our own paths, but I'm building a team according to the MREA models. I would recommend, if you haven't read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, please do. Whether you're a single agent or you have aspirations of being a 7th level agent, it's truly the roadmap to how to build a really great real estate business. And, questions that you have when you're building a business: how much money should I spend on marketing? How much money should I spend on rent? How much money? The MREA truly breaks down, actually based on the amount of GCI that you bring in. I know exactly my goal for next year And based on that goal, and average commission rates, I know exactly what we're going to spend next year for marketing dollars, because the MREA basically lays that information out. So I think it's a great tool for anybody. And even if you're a single agent, it has the tools for you on how to build your business. So do read that. And the one thing, if you read nothing else and you want to be successful in this business. So that's who I am. By the way, my sister, my parents were in real estate. My sister is an appraiser. She used to run the appraisal department for Prime Lending, which is the second largest appraiser in the country. I kind of think like an appraiser. I'm a numbers guy. Numbers get me excited. So I think I do a pretty good job at this, but even good seasoned appraisers make mistakes. And that's the biggest thing that I find agents are worried about, not getting the number exactly correct. You're not, but yeah, we had a deal not too long ago that an appraiser underappraised one of our properties and really started wouldn't use the comps in the same neighborhood, because our property was a 2-story and the other ones in the neighborhood were 1-story. So she went 2 neighborhoods over. That was a different builder, a different era, and used those for comps. I mean, it was a textbook of things that you shouldn't do. She made no time adjustments. Now, appraisers don't like to make time adjustments. But in this market, you have to. If you don't have the comps and you're using something from March as a comp, you have to adjust. Values, would we all agree, values have gone up since March. So you do have to make those time adjustments. I actually threw this appraisal that came in too low over to my sister, and she said, here's all the basic appraisal rules that were broken in this appraisal. So, don't feel like you have to get it exactly right. And I even tell, when I'm in a listing appointment, I tell people, look, I'm pretty good at this. And I think this is your value, and I think this is where we should go. But ultimately, the market's going to tell us whether we're at the right value or not. So don't get all hung up on getting this exactly correct. And I've even I had this discussion yesterday at a listing appointment, day before yesterday. A seller, I valued his property right at about $320. And he came back and said, I had another agent in here that said they could get $340 for it. And I said, you know what, in this market, you may be able to get $340. But to me, based on the data, and I'm pretty good with the data, you're worth $320. And I will tell you another thing, some agents, and this is true, will tell you that your house is worth more than the next agent. That's called buying your listing. And, if it's between me and this other guy, and the only thing that's making you want to go with the other guy is a 340 number, I'll go with the 340 number. We'll let the market tell us whether we are right or not. And then there's certain data points that you can utilize once it's on the market in terms of whether you have the right price. As an example, if you've had 10 showings and no offers, you're at the wrong price. If you've gone 3 days with no showings, you're at the wrong price. And those are all statistics that are from NAR that you can actually utilize to convince your sellers that they are at the wrong price and what they need to do to make those adjustments. So don't get hung up on this being, the end all be all. Our job is to make our best estimate, but even appraisers get it wrong, and they get it wrong quite frequently. So that's who I am, and I'd like to know who I'm working with. So if we want to kind of go around the room, tell me who you are, how long you've been in real estate, and what's the last movie you saw in a movie theater?
In a theater? Oh, gosh.
Go ahead.
My name's Hilton.
Uh-huh.
I've heard about you. I haven't really seen you around the office. I didn't realize that you moved, or that you're not working with Steve anymore, right?
Right, but I have a mega agent office off-site. So
I didn't know that.
Keller Williams allows agents that have larger teams to open a separate satellite office.
I've been busy with real estate about a year now.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit slow out of the gate. Setup is a little bit different, just for you to know. My wife, when we came over to the US, my wife came on a specialist visa. I couldn't work the first 2-3 years. We applied for a green card. It cost us like $20,000. We got the green card about three months ago. My background, I was a business development manager in medical sales in Canada, so I did 3 states. I had 12 salespeople, so I was a glorified babysitter. Before I went into the real estate, I owned a bit of property in South Africa, and I'm originally from South Africa. We owned some property in Canada, which was sold. I went for some interviews in the medical supplies industry, but at my level, they wanted me to travel once COVID is settled again. They would want me to travel 3-4 days a week. And I can't do the traveling. We've got a 7 and 9-year-old, and my wife works a lot of shifts. So I chose to go the real estate route. And I'm in it for the long haul. I'm a little bit slow out of the gate, but I'm just grinding every time I can. I'm just working at it, and just trying to set myself up for the time ahead.
Well, just keep working it, and no lead generation is your number one job, and
That's
get that done, everything else will follow.
All right.
Yeah,
Last movie I saw in the theater for my daughter was Black Widow.
okay.
Oh, that's
All
pretty
right.
recent.
Yeah.
Good for you.
There you go. So, all right, Mary.
Uh-oh. Good to see you again.
Yes.
So I've been in the real estate business here for 17 years. I did sell, I think I told you one time, in Arlington, Texas, halfway between Dallas and Fort Worth, and BC before children. We have been living in the area for 31 years. Can't believe that, geez. But so originally from Chicago by way of Dallas, Boston, and then here. Love what I do. It's exciting. It's every single day, and every single communication essentially is different. Every transaction is different, even if you're selling the same house, the same, it's just everything is different. So it's never boring. We're in a totally different, I've been through the last boom and the last, we'll just call it whatever it was. Dip. Yeah, well, you could call it a dip. It's okay. I've done short sales and foreclosures. Please God, keep them away. And everything in between. And this one's exciting. Boy, you gotta move fast.
Exactly.
It's just, yeah. But I started out as a buyer's agent, which I was for 5 years, and I feel like I look at everything through the eyes of the buyer, essentially. But pricing has never been my best skill. So I know it's your best skill, so that's why I'm here. And I didn't realize all the appraisal background. That's really good. I'm currently working with these sellers who want the number. I've always kind of been but that would be because they want the number that's way up here.
Sure.
And I want to learn how we work with the comps that we've got, and make some potential concession for what possibly could happen.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a hard conversation.
Not too.
Okay,
Not too
I'm
bad.
ready for it.
What's your last movie?
It was with the kids. We went to the babies. I have 5 grandchildren, and we went to Cine Bistro. I remember it was great. I love Cine Bistro, but I can't remember what the movie was. It was one of those cartoon movies.
Okay.
It was.
It didn't
was
make
a
an
long time
impression
ago.
on you.
Pardon me?
It didn't make
No,
an
it was. It was probably about 6 months ago or something.
Okay. I love the never-ending popcorn bowl at Cinnamon.
Oh my God, yeah, and great burgers.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Good food, unfortunately.
My name is Michael. I graduated high school in 2019. I got my real estate license back in April. I'm pursuing this full on. You won't see me going anywhere.
Mhm.
It's my career path, and yeah, I enjoy it. I like a lot of stuff about it. I like that it has an abundance of opportunity. And
All right.
I think the biggest thing about it.
When'd you get your license?
Back in April.
Okay.
I've been with the company now for just about a month.
Mhm. Okay.
Steve Green?
No.
Oh, I didn't.
So my ex-partner Steve started when he was 19.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
And you know Steve?
I am familiar.
Okay, yeah. So I can't tell you how many rental properties he has and commercial properties, but it's a lot. And he leveraged the business of real estate to become very successful at what he's doing. So keep at it. What's the last movie you saw?
That's exactly that. Last movie, I'm not sure the name, but just about 2 years ago, saw it in the Sarasota Mall Theater. It was Kevin Hart with this older senior citizen guy that was paralyzed, but he had all the money in the world. And he was very grumpy, but he had a great lineup of sports cars. So Kevin Hart, he was his nurse.
Okay.
Oh.
You know the plot, not the name.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's on
he
Netflix.
took the gentleman through the city, just going extremely fast through all the sports cars, essentially made him live. And
All right,
it's a pretty great movie.
cool. I'll try to catch it on Netflix or something. All right, Sarah.
Yeah, Mark knows my name. It's not a bad thing. I work in his office.
Oh, cool.
The off-campus
Oh,
office.
there you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm new. I'm a buyer's agent. I'm pretty new to the game. Mark knows all my secrets by this point, I think. My biggest thing right now is obviously lead generation, just like everybody else in my position. But I feel like I'm kind of behind the eight ball. I don't have that biggest sphere here in Sarasota. So I also have to remember and keep reminding myself that I do have a large Midwestern sphere that would love to come to
That's
Florida.
exactly right. We're in the
And-
Midwest.
Cincinnati area.
There you go. They're coming.
So they're coming, and Indianapolis too. So I'm thinking to myself, well, I really need to kind of push on that too. So anyway, that's what I'm doing now. And I had a quick CMA lesson in the office, but I feel like every little opportunity I can get to get more education is good. And I trust his opinions about most things in real estate. So
Cool. Do I recognize you from Bold? Are you in Bold right now?
Yes.
I thought so.
are you wearing your
So
bracelet?
is he. Oh,
Oh, you
yeah.
are.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That lovely thing, yeah.
I took
I
mine
do
off
wear it.
today.
Oh, I'm just not supposed
I'd already slapped myself 10 times and I had to let it go. I'm kidding, I did not. I did not.
What's the last movie you saw?
I saw a movie also at Cinnamon Bistro, but it was Downton Abbey.
Oh,
It was
love
a
Downton
couple of
Abbey.
years ago.
Oh, yes.
Mark, how many agents is in your office?
We have 3 buyers agents and I do all the listings and then we have 3 admin.
Okay.
Yep, and we're looking to bring on a couple more, so.
So cool.
Yep, all right. Jack Kelly, unmute yourself and share with everyone who you are.
And so you do all the listings?
Jack, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't
Okay.
fall asleep. My name is Jack Kelly. I've been here for 6 years. Okay, I actually worked with Mark for a short period of time, and that was tremendously educational. And I realized that one of Mark's strong points is one of my weak points, which is why I'm here today.
All
And the
right.
last movie I saw in the theater was Titanic.
Oh,
Oh, my gosh.
I don't get out much.
I saw that right before going to Alaska. That wasn't a good idea.
All right, Jack. Well, thanks for sharing. Good. Brett, are you there? Brett?
Hey,
Yes.
yep, I'm here. Thanks for doing this class. My name is Brett Goldman. I've been doing real estate for roughly a month, so brand new. I've done a lot of corporate management in a variety of roles, account management, operations management. I actually worked at ADP many moons ago as well, before they sold off the brokerage division, the front end of the brokerage division, which was a fantastic company to work for. I really enjoyed that job. And last movie I saw, I don't remember the name for sure. I think it was called Don't Talk. It was a horror movie. And it was.
Oh, yeah. Is that with, the guy from The Office?
I'll be honest with you, I was trying to think I started to think it was Timothy Oliphant, but it wasn't him, and I can't remember the person. It's been
Yeah.
about 4 years, I guess, so.
All right. I think they've got a sequel to that out now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Horror movie.
Okay. Bill, you want to tell us who you are? Bill Bambrick, are you there? Okay. Cheryl, you didn't get to hear what we're looking for, but I'd like to get a little bit of your background and finish up with what's the last movie you saw in the theater?
Yeah, sorry, I dropped out for some reason. I had to log back in. I've been doing this for about 9 weeks. joined Keller Williams. I took a break for a family reunion. Prior to that, I worked for Lee Weatherington Homes for a few years. And prior to that, I had corporate leadership roles in leading technical programs in marketing and business development. And the last movie I saw is Knives Out, and I'm currently in Bold.
All right.
He is.
Good. Well, Bold will do a lot for you guys. If nothing else, it will get you in the mindset of lead generation. So that's really cool. Oh, and I didn't share with you guys the last movie I saw. It was
Oh, the new
No
guy.
Time to Die,
Oh, the new James.
the new
Bond.
James Bond
Yeah.
movie. So I'm a huge James Bond fan. I've seen every one and many times. I've read every book. And I will just tell you, I was disappointed in it. So
I think he's sometimes like that as it evolves. So I'm just curious.
exactly. So Mr. William Bryant just joined us. William, we're introducing ourselves and you just came on at the right time, telling everybody how much experience you've got in real estate and finalizing it with what's the last movie you saw in a theater?
Last movie I saw in the theater was James Bond's last 007.
Okay.
And I've been here for a little over almost a year, but still have two other businesses I run, so I'm in my learning phase.
Okay. Well, welcome, and we can get started. And so generally what I do in this class is basically, typically people are out there trying to get listings and have a property, but given the market that we're in, not everybody may have a listing. So does anybody have something that they're working on, a buyer that they're making an offer on a property that they would like to see a market analysis on? Anybody in Zoom land? Anybody here? Pick a property, any property. Otherwise, I'm just going to come up with a random address.
2260 Cork Oak Street West.
2260 Cork Oak Street West. I know where that is.
I do too.
I know. It's across the street from my house.
All right. Okay, so here we go. All right, guys. So the first thing, somebody called me up, said, hey, Mark, we want you to come out and list our house. We live at 2260 Cork Oak Street West. So I'm going to first try to figure out where that is. I know where it is, but let's just say we don't know. And by the way, I don't know if I do best practices the way I utilize MLS, but it's the way I utilize MLS. So you might pick up something. Actually, I learned something in one of these classes the other day that saved me about 15 minutes on every CMA from somebody sitting out here.
Okay.
And I've been doing these things since 2012.
You can share that with us too, right?
Yeah, all right, so there's one currently on the market. There is another one that's pending, and there are another one that has sold. So then the next thing I typically am going to do is I don't want to look just at that street because there's, we know we've only had one sold on here. I need to look at the neighborhood. So I'm going to jump over to a map. Jump over to a map and see what we've got here. Oh yeah, this is in Colonial Oaks. When I see it, I'll go, okay, that's very familiar to me. I know Colonial Oaks. And it's a pretty homogeneous community in terms of the construction, the age, and everything else. So for us, that's going to make it a little bit easier. Thank you, Jack, for the softball.
Just trying to help.
All right. So one of the things that I will do is rather than, I don't like, the problem with the MLS is there are realtors that are putting in the data and garbage in, garbage out. You guys have all heard that term. And I have typically found that if I put the subdivision in, there's a lot of ways to do a subdivision. And, if you couldn't even do a subdivision in Country Club East because it could be Lakewood Ranch sub area number 3, whatever, doesn't make any sense. And so people may, and Heritage Harbor is another area like that where, agents put in different subdivisions names, you never know what's going in there. So for me, I like to draw draw a line around the neighborhood that I'm gonna be doing the search for. So what I'll do is just basically take a little polygon here. Actually, I didn't go up far enough. And I know some of this is, I'm not catching everything, but I'll catch enough by doing this. Yeah, we'll get over.
That's pretty
here.
much it, Mark.
Okay,
Come back, and yeah, just follow the creek around.
yeah,
Come back up.
all right. But I still only have the 3 that I have in there. Well, because I still have cork oak on there, right? So take out the street and boom, we all of a sudden now have 10 properties that we can work from. So now we're gonna look at the results.
Okay, so that, I never do maps or polygons, and so once you remove the street thing, the whole list of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this
Okay.
basically gives us everything that's in this neighborhood. And you could do subdivisions, but you run into this whole
No, you're
garbage in,
absolutely right.
garbage whatever,
You're
so.
absolutely right.
I just, and I know some people, well, I'll do a subdivision. If it doesn't work out, then I'll go out and do a map. Well, I don't have time for that. I just do a map and get it done. So then we're gonna look at the results. And the address that we're looking for is 2260 Cork Oak Street West. I'm gonna, first of all, I wanna look and see what the statistics are on that property. So for me, and again, I don't know if this is best practice, but I found this property that's pretty close. I use IMAP. Some people use Realist, but to me, IMAP actually has data that's better laid out. And if
Hey,
this-
Mark, excuse me. Why would you choose a sole listing rather for the data you, unless I'm misinterpreting the data you're looking for? Why not go to IMAP for that specific address?
I could do a search for that. But this, to me, this is a little bit quicker.
Okay.
So this is the IMAP that I pulled up. And so here's the property that we're looking for. And you can click on it.
Is that the comp? That's the comp, not the one.
This is the one that he wants
Oh, that's
to,
the sub.
this is the one that he wants to do a CMA for right now. Okay?
Mark, sorry, how did you go from the results to the IMAP?
So when you're looking at this, so I was, let me go back here to the short list. So I looked at the short list, and if you can see here, all right, this is Cork Oak Street, but is it Cork Oak Street West? Is it east or just plain Cork Oak Street? Oh,
Cork Oak
here's one that's Cork Oak Street West on the list. So I said, this is probably the closest one of this list that has come up. So then I click on that listing. And then there's a little IMAP icon right there that you can utilize that will open IMAP in a separate window for you. So here's the property that we are going to be comping. Now, what I want to know is what's the story with this property? And if you go down here in IMAP, it tells you that we've got a 1,640 square foot property, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Does it have a garage?
2-car.
So if we look down here, you'll see other improvements. It's got a garage average space. It doesn't really tell you in here that there's a 2-car garage in IMAP, but to me, I've done this long enough, and this is pretty easy math. What's the average 2-car garage size? 25 by 20 or 20 by 20. So that's about 400 square feet. So when I see that there is an attached garage that's 440 square feet, I know it's a 2-car garage. So so that's basically the basic data. Then I want to see, does it have anything else that is interesting, like a swimming pool, any outbuildings or anything like that? I don't see that there are. So I'll write down this information, the critical information, 1,640 square feet, 322. And that's all I need to know right now. The other thing that you can do is sometimes up here on IMAP above this little property tax thing on the top right-hand corner, if it's been listed in the near future, I mean, the near future, if it's been listed in the recent past, it will have a link here to take you to the MLS listing right here. It has it, so we don't, and if you get that data, that's golden for your CMA. And I'll explain to you why that is in just a minute. So now let's go back to our list.
Could you run it back to that last data you just wrote down? On
So,
2 something?
so we were down here and it says building
1640
information. It tells us there's 1,640
Okay.
square feet in the living area. We're almost always looking at heated, air-conditioned area. The outside area, we're going to assume that most houses have a very similar additional under roof area. Although you may have, I've got a listing right now that's a 6,000 square foot house and it's got another 6,000 square foot under roof.
Wow.
So it's 12,000. Now that may come into play when you've got something that is that significant. But most houses are all going to have about the same overall under roof, which is this total area of 2,429. But disregard that for our purposes of today. We're worried about this 1,640, okay? All right, so now I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna look. Oh, wow, here's a sold house, 1,672. Here's another one that's 1,660. So now I have some decisions to make. I can use, and by the way, I'm only looking at the sold properties.
Right.
Sold properties are what tells us what the actual market value is. That pending property is listed at 379. We have no idea what that went under contract for. It may have went under contract for 425. It may have went under contract for 350. And you really have no way of knowing that. We know that the only thing we know is that 379 was an appropriate price to attract an offer. So that's the only thing I know about that property, short of calling that agent up and asking them, did they get their price? And the script that I use for that, by the way,
Yeah, what is it?
is, hey, Sally, this is Mark Midyett with the Mark Midyett team over at Keller Williams. I'm doing a market analysis for a property I'm listing over in that neighborhood that you have your Cork Oak Street. And I'm curious, are your sellers going to be happy with that price or are they not? And agents like to talk. And 9 times out of 10, they will tell you what they got for the property, and you should never do that, by the way.
But it's not your job to tell them.
That's right. You, as an individual, don't ever do that, because if your deal falls apart, now other people know what the price was your seller was going to accept. Why is that bad? Your seller may be able to get more money from the next guy down the street, so you don't want to limit them to whatever price they got on that property previous.
Yeah, very unethical.
So, don't, and the closer it gets to the closing date and that data is available in the system, the more likely an agent, and people call me all the time. I never give out, even if the closing's tomorrow, I never give out the number. I'll say, call me tomorrow and I'll give you the exact number, but yes, my sellers are going to be very happy with this, or, we got a good offer. I'm non-committal on that. Actives, we have no idea whether these are the right numbers for the actives or not. So we can't use those as comps either. And so, especially look at this one.
Yeah.
$360,000 to be on the market 69 days in this market. I'll tell you right now, that's the wrong price.
They should have used my comp around the corner that sold in like 2 weeks.
So we've got 4 more solds here to decide whether we want to use them as comps. And truly the first thing that I look at is, okay, we were 1640 to go to 1890, that's 250 larger square feet to go to 1380. That is 250 square feet. So it's 250 square feet one way or the other. So to me, both those win. So winner, chicken dinner, you both get into it because you're the same. And again, this is how I do it. It's not
Is there a cap on the difference in this difference in size and?
There isn't, but here's what I've made big adjustments, and you really shouldn't, because the smaller the house, the higher price per square foot things sell for. You shouldn't do that, but if you do ultimately use one, and this is gonna be the last part of the lesson, when you get your market analysis all done, look at the data and just kind of go, does it pass the BS test? Because if you look and all your adjustments on your comps come in really all about the same, pretty close to the same number, then you feel like you probably made some good adjustments. If you've got one that's an outlier out there after all the adjustments are made, it's probably either you made a mistake, and that's the first thing I do. I go, oh, I screwed up. I'm going to go back and take a look at what I did, or I'm going to throw it out. So that's why I like to have, I typically don't want to do a CMA on anything less than 3 comps. And to me, the more the merrier. I'll do, 5 or 6. But I would, the more you have, the easier it is for you to kind of go, okay, I'm going to throw that one out. All right, so we've got our comps now. We figured out which ones I'm going to use. You go, Mark, you haven't even looked at them. Nope, I haven't. I'm just going to throw them out there and start work on this. And the only reason I do this is that I think it saves me time. If I'm either going to look at them now, or I'm going to look at them when I make the adjustments. If I start looking at them when I make the adjustments and realize that this thing isn't a comp at all because, they put in, level 5 granite in Colonial Oaks, which, sorry, Jack, I know you live there, but Colonial Oaks doesn't call for level 5 granite.
It does if your wife wants it.
That's right. There is value there.
You tell him, Jack.
I don't know. I've heard Kathy talk about the kitchen, so I know.
Yeah. So I'm using these. All right, now which CMA to use? I hear people say they love cloud CMA. They love whatever. I just do the old traditional matrix CMA because that's what I was taught on. And I don't know any of the other stuff, and I don't have time to learn the other things. So I come over here and okay, I've got my 5 comps picked. I'm gonna go, it's time to do the CMA. All right, I have to do a contact here. So let's just do me. And this is for 2160.
2260.
2260 work oak. Good enough. All right, the pages. So this CMA has a lot of stuff that you can put in it, and what pages you include. So you can include a cover sheet with a photo or without a photo. I wouldn't want to use both. So if you look over here, I'm using the cover sheet with a photo. On the summary list, I'm using both summary list and price adjustments. On comparables, I'm using a minimum and maximums chart. I'm using the list price to sale price chart. I don't use a CMA brief. I don't use the pro report. I do use the pricing recommendation sheet because interesting thing about this CMA, there's nowhere to put your findings in unless you use this pricing recommendation. I don't use the side-by-side, but I also use the CMA map. This static information is all the stuff that you should have in your pre-listing packet already. And so I don't want to give them this if I've already given them a pre-listing packet. And I hope you guys are all using a pre-listing packet. If not, do we still use Michael Lewis Marketing Suite? Anybody know?
Maybe, Leroy?
No, Michael Lewis.
No.
They gave us, there's a whole bunch of resources in KW Connect. And if we still use Michael Lewis, that creates a really spot on listing packet that gives all this information about pricing ahead of market, how you should do staging and, whatever, but all the stuff that the seller needs. I don't want to double up on that stuff. And by the way, this stuff isn't as nice as in my pre-listing packet that I hand out to people. It looks kind of bad. So these are just happen to be the pages that I ultimately use. All right, so now we know the comps that we're going to use. Now we have to get our listing into the CMA so we can compare to it. You can manually put in all the information on your property. I have never, ever had to do that. If you know the MLS number, remember I told you up on the top right-hand corner, if it's been on the market before, you could pull the MLS. Kim, I think your thing is beeping. I'm going to mute you. You can, and if you have an MLS number, that's the better way to go, because when you fill that in, it'll pull the picture over and everything else. So if you can find an MLS on this listing, use this field to fill it out. I use the tax records. So I have to come over here and to me, the easiest way to make sure that you, like, for me, I'm trying to do this as quick as possible. I'm trying to spit these out. So I know every property ID number is probably the most unique number that you can use of anything. So I'll copy that property ID number. I will select Sarasota County. I will put that number in, and it doesn't like the spaces for Sarasota County. So you'll have to go in and delete these spaces. And then that's all I put in is property ID. You could put in the name, you could put in the street number, the direction and all this, the owner's name and everything else.
And Mark, wait.
Oh.
That one was a realist tax thing that you pulled up there.
It calls it realist there,
Oh, okay.
but it's the
So,
same,
well, what's
the property ID number is the property ID number.
Okay, so but you copied it and you brought it to, what was the name of that screen? You were
That was the subject, where it's asking for the subject. So
Oh, it's still in
can
there.
do back here. So, yeah, so we're on subject
Yes,
and
yes.
just go and find this. So it gave me 4 choices to pick my subject. You put it in manually, put in the MLS number.
Yeah.
You can search for it in the MLS, or you can put in the property ID number. First choice, if you got the MLS number, use that because it's going to include the description and everything else. But short of that, use the property ID number. And then it's going to find them. It's going to look it up. Oh, look, I only have one choice and it's exactly the property that we were looking for. Hooray. So I'm going to ask it to fill out all this information. Thinking about it. Okay, there you go. So now we've got all this information. Now I want to look at what doesn't it have that I need in here. Is state important? Probably not, because all my comps are in the same state, so I don't worry about that. Bedrooms and baths, those are the things. Garage features, I don't know why that's a default in this CMA, but it is. Is there a pool? Yes or no? It draws for pool features. I use this field. You could draw from the MLS and ask for custom fields and say pool, yes or no. But again, garbage in, garbage out. I've found my experience has been agents may miss that yes or no, but they will put in whether it is gunite or in ground or whatever. So pool features is the one I go off of to find pool features. Then you got some custom fields down here. I have a set of custom fields that I actually utilize. And what is the most important thing that we consider in real estate when we consider value?
Location.
You got it. Good job. So location is the first thing that I put in here. And this is not a custom, this is a field that I put in myself. So, you know, I could create my own label here if I wanted to. Does it have a shingle roof? You know, that could be a comparison that I want to do, because shingle tile roofs typically get more than a shingle. So you could do things like that. So I look at location. The next thing is condition. And I'll talk to you about how I assess condition in just a little bit. But, you know, you want to know a house that's been lived in with a hoarder is going to price way differently than the person that put the level 5 granite in, right?
Exactly.
Garage spaces. Garage spaces is a field that is not one that you is not up here in the list. It has features in the garage, but for whatever reason, it doesn't have garage features. And I actually linked to the MLS on that one, and I'm going to show you how I do that, how you can link to the MLS, because a new field that I've been using recently, and I haven't saved it. By the way, if you create your own set of custom fields down here that you use all the time, you can use this button down at the bottom and save as the default. And these will be your fields every time you utilize it. And a field that I have not saved, that I've been that I've been using recently, because I have to, is contract date. So that's a field that I'm using now because I'm having to make time adjustments if something sold 6 months ago. And by the way, my search was 180 days, so 6 months ago is a field that I've been using. Why didn't I use close date? Anybody? Mary, you
Might
know.
not have closed.
Huh? What?
What's that, Jack?
It might not have closed.
Nope. I'm
No, these
only
are all
using
sold
solds.
properties.
I'm only using solds.
So we know that it's sold. The contract date tells really when it.
What the value was that day.
time, yeah.
If it, if it's closing 45 days later, actually it's probably worth more 45 days later in this market. So I don't care about close date. I want to know contract date because that's the date I'm working from, that somebody made an offer of whatever dollar amount it was. So I'm going to make that my custom field. So now I've got contract date in there. So those are all, everything. So location, what kind of location do we have on this property? So I'm gonna, all right, please mute if you have it. Jack, I just muted you. All right. So,
The day, so he picked a comp, and the contract date is the date that comp went from active to pending. They actually got their contract.
so this house is kind of on a little bit of a cul-de-sac. Would you say that you'd rather have this lot or this lot?
Probably bigger.
Cul-de-sac.
Well, don't worry about size yet. Just think about location. Would you rather be here or here? I think so. I mean, it's a personal preference. A lot of the stuff, by the way, is what would I pay for that?
Yes.
What would if those two houses were on the market, it looked exactly the same and had the same square footage and they were exactly the same price, which one would you pick? This one's probably a little more appealing because you got this, people probably go this way when they go around the circle as opposed to going this way. So you're gonna have less traffic right in front of your house. So,
Sometimes you have.
And
more
if you have
stuff.
children, you're interested in the cul-de-sac.
right, so it's not really a cul-de-sac, but I gotta do something to market here. So, and I don't even know if that's how you spell cul-de-sac. All right, I've never seen this house before. And I don't know if Jack has, and Jack, I don't care if you have. Right now, and this is truly how a lot of agents will do a 2-visit
Yes.
presentation. I don't do that. And because sometimes I'll go in and make these adjustments after I see the house in person, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But you may do a 2-step close. In the meanwhile, another agent does a 1-step close and he gets the listing because they're waiting on you to come back, or they're not going to wait on you to come back because the other guy gave them a number they wanted to hear, the 340 instead of the 320. And so I think in this market, it's too dangerous
Yeah.
to do a 2-step close.
Agreed.
So not knowing anything about the condition of this house, I'm going to start out and say, whoops, this isn't my computer, so it does different things. I'm going to say their condition is average.
Okay.
Now, what's average? I don't know. Depends on the neighborhood. Some neighborhoods, if these comps, we start looking at them, and every house that we look at as a comp has been remodeled, then that's the average. That's the average for the neighborhood, is remodeled houses. If you've got some that are remodeled, some aren't, I want to look at the properties and see what the majority of the properties are in that neighborhood. And I don't get real sophisticated about this. An appraiser they've got like a 1 to 5 scale on condition that they work with. and we'll talk about how we rate condition differences in a minute. All right, garage spaces. Remember we said it was 440 square feet. So how many garage spaces is that? 2.
Two.
All right, we'll put that in there. Contract date, we don't have a contract date for this one because it's not sold, right? All right, we need a picture. I want my CMAs to look kind of pretty, right? And so you want to have a picture of the property if you can. And was everybody in the team meeting today? Okay. Scott told you not to use copyrighted pictures. So don't listen to this, put your earmuffs on. So I actually use Snipping Tool. I don't see it on this computer. I've got it saved. Let me try to find Snipping Tool.
Snipping tool.
Yeah, it's a standard on Microsoft.
I see.
So with my handy dandy snipping tool, I can come along and do this. There's a picture of the house.
That's great.
I'm going to save it. Because I'm never going to use this picture again, and this drives people bananas, but I put it on my desktop. So then we come back over here and take the picture that I took, my desktop. Oh, it's not there. I don't know where it went. Okay, I saved it in the wrong spot. You guys get to see me struggle here.
I'm used to seeing something struggle.
I'll just put it in documents. Maybe that's a better spot.
I was interested about the conflict stuff.
Why isn't this showing?
There's some photographers
You did the list, because it's only showing folders.
a lot of
Using
stuff. And I-
photography.
List.
Yeah, I just taking the Google map. There's a lot of stations.
Why isn't my file there?
What's that file on?
I don't know. All right, guys. Suffice it to say that let's pretend that this is here. I don't know why it's not saving it, why I can't find it.
So is every photo in the MLS a copywritten photo?
This isn't a MLS photo. This is a Google Street photo. So this thing, I gotta move it, by the way. It's in my way. All right. On my computer, I can pull this picture. So this is a Google Street photo. And hopefully it's a sunny day. My first house in Sarasota, by the way, they've not changed the Google Street photo from when it first came out in 2009 or something like that. It was a cloudy day in December because my Christmas tree is on the curb for the garbage. So
Was that in Oak Ford?
yeah.
I remember that shot.
So there's, so sometimes this isn't the best place. If you could go by and take your own picture, take your own picture. But, suffice it. So what you really want to do is get a picture in here, okay?
Yeah, Jack, take the picture.
Yeah, so Jack, take a picture. I also want this to show up on my map. When I'm showing where it's located compared to my comparables that I'm using. Is it 3-2?
What'd you click on this? Oh, the map.
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right, that's where it is. So down here it says locate,
Oh, I see.
and then it puts in the GPS coordinate or the latitude, longitudinal coordinates. Okay, so now we have our subject in and we've got our comps. It's time to play.
So this is the subject, obviously no closed date, contract date on it. So you're gonna tell us how you figured that out.
Well, we don't need a contract date on the subject.
No, yeah, that's.
Which
right. We don't
today's
need
the
it
day,
on it.
today's
We
the
don't
day
need
we're
it on it.
comparing. I'm giving them the value as of today.
Yeah, that's
If the Fed announces interest rates are going to 5% tomorrow, the value might be different tomorrow.
right. All bets are off.
So, All right, so then we go to the cover. I want to make sure it looks good. You know, okay, I might put their address in because I wanted to feel good that this was special to them. You know, whatever, has my picture, looks good. Here are my comparables. If you don't have enough comparables, you can search at putting this add from listings is an additional search. Sometimes, remember when I talked about you get to the end and you're looking at your data and you see the BS factor and you got to eliminate 2 of your things and you don't have enough. Sometimes I come back to this page and go add from listings and it actually allows you to do another search. So we go into the map and it kind of shows where everything is. There's our subject because I put in the location, so that's nice. Now here's where the rubber meets the road. Adjustment page. This seems like a lot, guys, but it's not. It's one piece at a time. Just focus on it. Every time I do this class, people get really, oh my gosh, there's just so many things. You're going to look at one feature at a time, just one feature at a time, one feature at a time. And so first, we're going to compare zip code of our subject to the zip code of our comparables. Oh, they're all the same. I don't have to make any adjustments. Are they all in the same county? Yes. All right, we don't have to make any adjustments. They're all in Colonial Oaks. No adjustments. Oh, we've got one that has extra bedrooms. So we have to take a bedroom away from this house to make it look like the one we're comparing to. Everybody follow that concept? This house has a bedroom and we have to get rid of it. So how do you get rid of it? You have to subtract the value of that bedroom from the house. My experience has been, and you guys can use these numbers, it's relatively accurate, even in Colonial Oaks or Heritage Harbor or Heritage Oaks or Bent Tree, you're probably going to find bedrooms are about this value, about $10,000 a piece. So Mary, what I used to do was put minus $10,000 in this field. What somebody taught me is that if I put 10,000 is the value of a bedroom, it automatically fills it out for me. I didn't realize that.
So it fills it up. So that one is less, how many, oh, that one's more. So it gives it a credit, I mean, not a credit.
It took away. So this house sold for $470. And if everything else was the same about the 2 houses, they had the same location, they were the same age, they both had new air conditioners, new roofs, the same square footage. Ours just happens to have an extra, this one happens to have an extra bedroom, then it's going to be, this value is going to be 460. All right, let's move on down the line.
Just to put the value in the.
Yep, bathrooms. We all have the same amount of bathrooms. Just for point of reference, I put in about $5,000 for a full bath. Half baths. None of these have a half bath. So
500 for a half.
2,500 for a half bath. You learn quick. Good.
Stick with that. I'm good on that one.
All right. I don't know why this doesn't give me a value up here to pre-fill all of these, but we see this one is a 2-story house.
Yeah.
Are 2-story houses worth more or less than a 1-story house?
Less.
Why?
Less in Florida.
1 story uses more concrete. 1 story uses more concrete.
Who said that in Zoom land?
I did.
Cheryl? All right, Cheryl, why do you think less in Florida?
Because everybody asked me for a 1-story house.
You're exactly right.
It's just about the demand.
Everybody's old here.
Well, yeah, no.
Nobody wants to go upstairs.
Yeah, but that's an intrinsic value thing. That's not like more square footage of concrete. So it has.
It
nothing
makes
to
your
do
home,
with
it
the
makes,
concrete.
no, it has nothing to do with that.
Ah.
Nobody wants to pay for that extra floor.
Okay.
I value a 2-story house about $10,000 less than a 1-story house. So
just because of the demand.
The demand,
Okay.
exactly. Now, in other parts of the country, those things are worth more. So, all right, we've got a pool. What to do? Only one of these has a pool. So Bent Oak Drive, and by the way, garbage in, garbage out, when we start looking at a deep dive at our comparables, which we're gonna do in just a minute, you do have to make some adjustments. You may find that there are pools that don't show up here under the pool feature item. So what's the minimum it costs to put in a pool nowadays? Anybody?
35, that's cheap.
80,000.
I think they-
50 is probably the number.
Yeah.
Average about 70.
60 to 80.
Yeah. So you don't get that. And there's a lot of things that you don't get for pools. And the reason being about half, it's like a two-story. About half the people want pools, about half the people don't want pools. Well, it's a perfect house. We really didn't want a pool, and I guess we'll buy it. I value a pool, and this blows everyone away that has a pool, about $20,000. I used to do 15.
Well, 20 for fancy or 20 for plain?
Well, 20 for plain.
Mhm.
If you go in and somebody has $100,000 pool, you might do a $40,000 adjustment. And when I say 100,000, I mean waterfalls and, the whole 9 yards. But in this case, in Colonial Oaks,
If it's a 100K pool, you're not gonna have 40K or.
something like that, yeah, 40K. Yeah, pools really is the worst amount here. And by the way, this is how you get business. Go out and figure out who's getting bids on pools, and then share with them a CMA or show them comparables of what you get for a pool when you sell a house, and then go sell them a new house that already has a pool, as opposed to having them spend $70,000 on a pool. Take that $70,000, take your equity, take the benefit that you're going to get for a lower interest rate than what you're current paying. Maybe your equity is pretty low. Get rid of the PMI on your thing. Take the same mortgage payment that they have, and show them how you can move them up $200,000 into a nicer house. I've got a guy, I'm doing that right now in my Rotary Club. Yeah, he's going, yeah, my wife and I, we got to get a pool for our kids. We love our house. We're going to put a pool in. You're stupid. Don't put a pool in. I can move you on up to a nicer house by doing this. All right, now we're into lot size. Lot size can be a little tricky because can anybody really tell the difference between 0.2 acres and 0.18 acres? No. Not really, and nobody's really going to pay that difference. Now, if it's significant and this 0.26 acres and this 0.29 acres kind of is, they're almost a third bigger than our subject. They do make a difference. The thing is, you don't get kind of market value for land. And if you guys have ever looked at tax values, you'll see that tax values almost are always much, much lower than what actual value is. So I like to use, this is the one time I like to use the tax value to kind of tell me what the land value is. So I know that 0.18 acres is worth $100,000. And if I'm a third larger, what's a third of 100,000? 33,000. Everybody buy that number? So, and I may come back and revisit this after we start looking at these properties, because I may find out that 2.6 acres, I've seen properties that have had a quarter acre, but half their quarter acre was in the lake behind the house. They actually own half the lake,
Like that doesn't.
and that's not usable. And I'm going to make a location adjustment because they've got a lake view and they don't. And so they don't get to double dip. They don't get the land value and the lake view value. So when you start looking at these, I may come back and make some adjustments on them. But right now, I'm just going to do round numbers and do this.
how did you get to that 33? I know it was a third of 100K. but-
So I came over here and looked at what the tax man said that land value was worth. Thank you. All right, square footage. Now, here's where my fun little computer skills work out. All right, I'm gonna have to minimize this because I'm losing the screen. Let me go to my latest search. Just so you guys know, to me, I want to keep my CMA open and I want to be able to look at these properties. You could open another tab and get into MLS and pull that search up. I have done that before, but it sometimes confuses the MLS login and I lose my work in the middle of the CMA, and that makes me madder than anything when I have to go back and redo my CMA. And
There's
it's
a
not.
save button somewhere to.
There is
all
a
this.
save button right here, by the way, and it automatically saves. It actually saved it 10 minutes ago. But if it dropped out now, we'd lose the last 10 minutes of my work. So
That's the save button?
yeah.
Anytime you leave.
So what I do is actually open a different browser. I open Microsoft Edge. You can open Firefox or whatever. And I go over here and look, we've got the same stuff that we've got going that we had before. And what I like to do now is run a quick CMA. And I love these little quick CMAs because this is great to
Looks
take.
like you spent a ton of time on.
It does, and you
That's
take
the
these to
one.
open houses. I like to, and here's a little trick. I print out 2 of these and I highlight properties that are comparable to mine on this quick CMA and I lay it out with all my other stuff. And if I get into a discussion with somebody about what's going on in the neighborhood, I kind of go over this. They're always going to want this, especially if there's like 20 properties on it. And I'll go, I just printed one for today, but I'll send you one. I'm happy to put it together and send you one. Just put your contact, give me your phone number and your email address, and I'll be sure to get it to you. And now you've got their email address and you can follow up with them after the meeting. All right. Why did we come over here? I forgot. Oh yeah, we are working on price per square foot. So the quick CMA, by the way, gives me the price per square foot value in here, which is the average and the median are pretty close. And I kind of like to look at those. We're close to 250, 249, 248 a square foot. So logically, you would say, Mark, 250 a square foot should go in here, right? It doesn't. And if you ever, and I discovered this on my own because I said, where are we going to come up with this number? How do appraisers come up with this number? And I thought it was magic. And I started reviewing all my appraisals, and then I started looking at how much did they sell for and what was the sold price per square foot, and then what was the appraiser making for the adjustment. And almost on every appraisal I looked at, the appraisers were using 50% of the price per square foot value that's in there. And the reason they do that is part of that price per square foot is the land. Remember, this one that sold for $250 a square foot had 0.29 acres. So that made up part of that price per square foot valuation. The extra bedroom that the guy has, we've already given him $10,000 credit. We can't let him double dip for the extra square foot. So how do you come up with that adjustment? Simple and easy. 50% of what the quick CMA tells you it's going to be. So that's where I came up with the number. So we were at 250 or 248. So what's that? 124. And this is one of those fields. This is where I saved a whole bunch of time because I was doing this calculation on the calculator. 1640 minus 1380 times 124. Where do you come up with that?
Oh, yeah.
So now I saved a whole bunch of time. By the way, as you start filling this stuff in, and this is only in numbers people get into this, you start seeing these numbers get closer and closer together. And
Those move?
yeah, as I make a change here, these adjusted prices change. All right, year built. These have all been built about the same year. Same thing. I've looked at a whole bunch of appraisals. How do appraisers make adjustments? About $1,000 a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're making condition. Remember, we're going to be making condition adjustments later on.
Yeah.
And again, you don't want to double dip on this stuff. Average days on market, I don't really care about. Now we're going to get into the location situation. All right, well, let's go over, let's look at, and it's just me, I always start at the most expensive one. All right, let's look at 5315 Bent Oak Drive. I got to go over to my other
Average days on
5315 Bent Oak Drive. Let's pull this guy up. There's your 2-story one. Boy, this realtor wrote a whole great thing about Kathy Reston.
That's the part I do. You give me the numbers and I'll do it.
So I'm not going to get into that right now. We're going to go look at where it's located. Remember, one step at a time. Don't get hung up on the other stuff. All right, so let's look at this guy.
So this, we're still at the age 6.
Nope, we're in the location
Oh,
now.
location.
How does this location compare to the other location? So what do you guys think? This house is one house away from Honore. It's not on a cul-de-sac, but it's only kind of 3 houses here. Do you think this house?
Is the red one the subject?
Yeah, not the subject.
Oh,
This is
that's the
where,
comp.
this is the comp. Remember where the
One.
subject was? They
Yeah.
were at one.
Okay, honorary, and then the other subject is over by,
The subject is right here.
yeah, that's way better. Way better.
This
But I
one's
got
way-
road noise.
No.
Subject's like under the
The
sea.
subject
under
is
corporate,
very.
but-
is
Yeah, okay, the
way
subject's
better.
right here,
Yes.
and here's this.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to this one, truly.
Is, and it's not. Yeah, it's away from, it's a ways away from Monterey, and where is it from Weber? Or
Colonial Oaks
Colonial Oaks,
Boulevard is
oh, the
kind of a
Colonial Oaks
cut through.
Yeah, so here's the subject.
Yeah, I still say subject is in a better spot.
Yeah, just like close to the road.
Okay, yeah, I think you get road noise there, more so than the other one, but
And Mark, that house is 1 street off Honore Avenue at the back entrance off Cork Oak Street.
yeah, that's what we said, is that may have road noise from Monterey. But, you know, another advantage, you know, to me, if you guys can't tell, I'm all about saving time.
Yeah,
It's pretty quick to get to home
that's
for
true.
the other, but although this isn't too
Colonial Oaks.
difficult either.
Yeah,
And you're closer to the park from this house.
that's true. Subject,
Let's say the subject's a little bit better.
yes.
All right, so we're talking a little bit better.
Yeah, how do you come up with a little bit?
So this is a center back entrance. And by the way, center means there's houses on each side in my world. This is
You're on
just-
Gold Oak Lane. That's not Bent Oak Drive.
You're right. Thanks, Jack. Keeping me honest.
It's a challenge.
All right. I'd say that the subject is worth maybe about $5,000 more. And it's kind of, what would you pay? Those two, if 2 identical houses there, what would you pay, Mary? To have the cul-de-sac?
5,000 might be a fair number, and I want to pay you more than that.
Okay,
I mean, it wasn't,
there you go. So some of this is just subjective. Think about it. You have,
Yes.
if these 2 houses, don't look at what they look like or anything else. If you could live here or live here in the identical house, what would you pay different? To me, it's $5,000.
okay, so but the lingo you got there, how do you, that's just what you're.
Well, so it's mainly when I'm going over this CMA with the seller,
Mhm.
I can explain center. It means that there's houses on each side of it. And this one does have, the subject has houses on each side of it. And it's at the back gate. We might put Honore on here too.
Oh, and you could put more verbiage there, okay,
Yeah, the thing is, they get cut off in the CMA.
yeah.
All right, now let's go back and look at the next one that we use, Briar. All right, I know where he is. All right, he's over here by Cattleman.
Mhm. Nice one down the street.
And, you know,
Totally recool, never mind, you don't want to know that.
I don't care about that right
About
now.
that, doesn't matter, you don't care.
I'm thinking about location though. I don't like this location in Colonial. I've been to Colonial Oaks. I don't like this side of Colonial Oaks. There are no trees over there. It just seems sort of barren. I'd pay $10,000 to be in the other, in the subject.
10,000 more than that, yeah.
maybe 7,500. I'd pay more for the subject, I'd pay more for the one we were just looking at than this one.
Mhm.
So,
This is closer to 75 too. And
Yeah,
that's
it's
Cattleman
closer,
and 75 is right next to it.
yeah, Cattleman's actually busier than Honor, right?
Yes.
I just,
Yes, you're
yeah.
right.
So let's make a 7,500, Cattleman side. So whoops, not 75,000. So by the way, we're adding value because these have a lower value than the subject. All right, let's go to
Does it
2298.
make the pluses and minuses or whatever on its own? Or
Well,
does
if
it
you
say?
if you put in a whole number, it uses that.
Okay,
If it's a negative, I put a minus in front of it. So, okay,
so
all right,
But if you put it in that top thing, then it automatically figures it out.
it's exactly right. All right, this one,
Yeah.
just down the street from the subject, on the corner.
Oh, Gold Oak. What?
I'd say they're about equal. I wouldn't make an adjustment on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing really wrong with it.
I wouldn't make an
Some
adjustment at
people
all.
love corners.
Corner, 0. All right, Colonial Oaks Boulevard. I'll tell you right now, I don't want to be on Colonial Oaks
Yeah.
Boulevard.
Right.
But we gotta look at it. He might have a lake view. There might be some other benefits. Yep, look at that. He's got a lake
Oh,
view.
yeah.
Is that a fence behind it? No, that's just the.
No, it's a fence.
Is it? So he doesn't have a lake
Yeah,
view?
that's whatever it is, Oak Vista's back there.
He can't see this lake?
I don't think so.
No, you can't.
See those white panels, that's a fence.
All right, so
Okay.
if I've never been in Colonial Oaks and I do a lot of these, this is a miss, and it's okay to make a miss. And so if I were going out doing this presentation to somebody and the seller, let's say Jack Kelly's the seller and he lives in the neighborhood and Jack goes, well, you gave him $10,000 because he's a lake, he can't see the lake. I'm marking up the CMA right there and making a new adjusted price on the CMA. That's how you do a one visit CMA, is that yeah, you know what? I'd never been here. Thanks. I'm glad you know the neighborhood better than me because you've lived here 20 years, Mr. Kelly. So we'll scratch through that. So knowing he can't see the lake and knowing he's on Colonial Oaks Boulevard, I think I'd pay 7,500 to
Hey,
be.
Mark, can you zoom out a little bit on that, please?
I'd pay more for the subject. Question is it 10,000? Is it 7,500? I think 7,500.
Yeah, okay.
And you people that don't know this, I mean, Colonial Oak, you got to know the neighborhood. That's the main drag in and out of that neighborhood. Everybody that uses that park goes down Colonial Oaks Boulevard. So.
Along with everybody who lives there.
Yep,
Well, and everybody cutting through the neighborhood.
and you got neighborhood cutters. So, all right, the last one. Remember, we're just looking at. All right. Oh, he's got an empty lot next door.
It's a ditch,
No, that's not an empty lot. That's
drainage ditch.
right, that spot just above him is a
Yeah.
county drainage. That lot next to him is part of our stormwater. That lot will never be filled.
So would you prefer to have no house next door or do you want a house next
No
door?
house.
A
Exactly.
little bit. Yeah,
So-
you gotta-
Yeah, but you gotta, wait, you gotta, just for my own knowledge. All right, you see that is owned by Colonial Oaks Homeowners Association.
Yep.
That's
I
common
know that. I
property.
sold the house behind that, by the way.
Okay, but what happens is, nobody's maintaining, that's just a wild vegetative lot. Okay,
You got
Does
it.
it flood?
But I'd rather have that lot than you next door, Jack. Sorry.
Most
no
of the time,
offense taken.
Okay.
yeah.
So if I want to, how much would I pay not to live next to Jack Kelly?
Oh,
$5,000.
Well, this is
That old, do I hear 750?
So this one is better than our subject, so we have to take that value away. And of all these lots, I think that's the best one that we've seen. So I put a negative in front of that one. All right, now condition, here's where it gets interesting. All right, and I don't know that we're gonna have time to go through all these, but I'm going to, so let's look at this one. First thing I do,
There's only one picture.
there's no pictures, there's no nothing. We just have to assume that it is an average house like our house, because we don't know anything else about it. Newer roof, newer AC. Don't even know how old they are. So this one's gonna be easy. So this one's average. And by the way, remember, when this is all said and done, we're gonna look at this data and decide if we're gonna keep it or not. So next one. All right, so we've got a house, so I'm gonna read the description. I always like to read the description first because it's gonna tell, they don't take pictures of a brand new AC, and you can't tell in a picture if the roof is new. And those are big adjustments.
I need to know what those are, because my Briar Oak, the 2 houses over from the other one, had a brand new, like a week old, and the AC was 2 days old before it went on the market. So what do you give for those?
So in that neighborhood, I would probably give about $10,000. Is a 1,600 square foot house thereabouts?
Yeah.
Probably $10,000 for the roof
Mhm.
and $5,000 for the AC. If you're comparing to a house that doesn't have that.
Right.
All right, so I don't see anything in the description that tells me what this thing's like. I'm gonna look at the pictures. And by the way, I use the button that shows me all the pictures at once. All right, looks like they put some vinyl plank floors in. They have done cabinetry at some point in the past. This isn't original, but it's not new. If it were new, you wouldn't see this style of wood. People don't do that anymore. New stainless steel appliances. All right. That's all I know about that house. I don't know if that's average for the neighborhood yet, so I'm not gonna make an adjustment yet. I'm gonna go to the next one.
That's all redone.
All right, new roof being installed at the end of June.
No, that's not the new.
No AC. So, all right, we know we've got a roof for 10,000 on this house. I'm gonna assume my house doesn't have a new roof. Although if you really want to get ambitious, you could look up permits. All right, so now we're going to look at pictures real quick. Looks like Mexican tile. Granite countertops, updated kitchen. Then we look at the master bathroom. So the things I look for when I'm looking at pictures: kitchen, master bath, floors. And then I'm gonna look at the description: new windows, new roof, new AC. Those are really the main things that are gonna make an adjustment, right? Will we put in new window coverings? Great. That's
Lipstick on a pig.
exactly. So, all right, so now we know what this one is. So these two homes are pretty comparable in my mind. The one that we just looked at and this one. So I'm saying this is the average for the neighborhood, has been updated, not overboard. So I've seen 2 in a row, let's make it 3.
After new windows, what were those other things you checked out?
Air conditioner and roof.
Thank you.
How
And
much
you'll-
for windows, by the way?
What's that?
How much for windows?
Depends on the house, but I've heard people pay $40,000 for new windows in a house. And I've heard of people paying $13,000 for the same hurricane impact windows.
Where was the 13? I got a bid for 35.
Yeah,
Yeah, seriously. I got
Exactly.
2 bids for 35.
I would put in about $15,000 for new windows, if they're hurricane impact windows. You don't always have that. All right, so I've looked at 2, I figured out what average is. So we know this one's average. Oops. No, this one isn't average. This one has the new roof, new AC. what did I say, 15,000, 16,000?
15K for the.
Yeah, 15,000. Mine's,
Roof is 10 and, yeah, 15K.
okay. And by the way, a tool that I utilize, so you'll often get people give you pushback on the remodeling value. Let's say our house hasn't been remodeled, and we're going to be comparing back to these houses, the one that we just looked at that's been, has an updated kitchen and everything else. And they will probably say something like, we just spent $40,000 to have our kitchen redone,
Right.
and we spent $10,000 on our bathroom. That's great. There is a tool that I use, and you can download it, Google this, called cost versus value.
Oh, wow.
It's a national association that actually is drilled down geographically. All you have to do is give up your email to these people, and they will give you a report specific to Sarasota County right now that will tell you what the average cost is for a luxury house, a typical house, or a lower end house to do a kitchen, to do a bathroom, to do flooring, to do all these different remodel projects.
Wow.
And then they will tell you what the average return on investment is for all of those items that get done.
Cool thing.
I will give you the Cliff Notes version. Almost everything that you do, except for a roof, windows, and air conditioning, is 66% of the value.
That's what the new value is.
Yeah, and
Even if I did it last month and I'm selling it this month, it's only 60.
you get 60, unless you did the remodeling yourself, or you're a flipper and you've got wholesale capabilities to get this stuff done. If you're paid retail for that, and because I do so much remodeling, I know what retail is. I can look at a kitchen and go, all right, that's a $40,000 kitchen. You're going to get 66% of that. Flooring, I know vinyl plank flooring in an average, 1,800 square foot house is going to cost you probably $8,000 to $10,000. I'm going to give you $6,000 for vinyl plank flooring. If nobody else in the neighborhood has vinyl plank flooring and you've got vinyl plank flooring, it's $6,000 worth of value. So, and I can do this very quickly because I've done a lot of remodeling and I've studied this cost versus value, and I can just do the math in my head. But for you guys that have it, get the cost versus value report and use that as the tool that you want to utilize. So, you know what, I'm not going to do a lot more here on this because we're getting close to being out of time, and I want to get to, hey, I'm missing a field. I didn't save time value. Contract date.
Oh.
Whoops. Well, there it was, but okay, it's there now. Let's just do average. So Jack, if you're going to use this for a CMA, don't, because I'm making shit up as I go.
No, I just wanted to watch the process.
All right. So this one sold this month. Probably a pretty good comp, right?
Yes.
This one didn't sell this month.
Oh, 6 months.
It sold, April, May, June,
6
July,
months ago.
August, September, 5 months.
5 months.
No, 9 months, 6 months. You're right, 6 months. So to
Do you
be
put an
really-
escalation in there for the market we're in?
Yes. Well, I'm putting an escalation. This house that sold at 5619 Colonial Oaks Boulevard certainly would sell for more today than it would back in April. And appraisers, by the way, hate making time adjustments. It's the last adjustment that they'll make. You have to twist their arm, but it is done, and it's done every day. And, again, I talked to my sister who does thousands of appraisals, and, you have to do it in this market as an appraiser. Ideally, I'd have 3 comps that sold, in September and October, and I wouldn't have to make any time adjustments. But there's no other neighborhood like Colonial Oaks. I'm not going to Colonial Gables. I'd rather make a time adjustment than use Colonial Gables as an adjustment on this. So you have to kind of look at what houses are selling, try to find two typical houses, one that sold for them then and one that sold now. This is what an appraiser has to do when they make a time adjustment. Figure out what the average percentage is per month and apply that percentage. I'm a pretty simple guy. And I'm trying to do this quick. What does the RASM tell us that the average price of a home has gone up for in the last 12 months?
It was 17 or 19%.
That was nationally.
What was that nationally?
Yeah,
24, 25.
20%. All right, so 6 months,
20% in the last.
Is what?
How many months? 12.
if it's 12 months is 20%, what's 6 months?
10.
Yay, you win. All right, 10%. So it sold for $350,000. So we're going to assume that they would get $35,000 more for it today. So we need to make that adjustment. All right, now we're into June, July, August, September, October, 4 months. So what's that? I don't have a quick calculator. So that's 1/3 of that'd be 7%, right? Thereabouts. So 7 times 418, easy math. I like round numbers. I just want to make it easy and not have to do a lot of work. Here's another phenomenon. And I'm only making this assumption because I've been watching the market, and Mary may, with her experience, agree with me on this. Do you think the gains that we've made since July are as dramatic as the gains we made prior to July? In market value?
I'm seeing that, I'm seeing that there's some obscene gains now, but I wasn't paying as much attention between April and July.
Okay,
You know.
I think the gains have slowed down between July and.
No, that's what people are saying, and they're saying it nationally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and actually,
It's slowing down.
they're saying national, Zillow says that we're expect 11.7% gain in the next 12 months. And I don't know what the number is between July and now, but I know there is a number that we need to assign to this. And so if we, say it's 1% a month, July, August, September, October, that's 3 months, maybe a 3% adjustment. So that's 12 plus another, so that's $14,000
Hey, Mark,
adjustment on this. Yes, sir.
I've been following market statistics, and the average sale price in April was $372,000, 372,771. In September, it was 377,486, and that's right out of the MLS market stats.
Okay.
Now, if you go back,
I'm gonna
you go
check
back
on
a
that,
year-
Jack, because I have the
Sure.
data. And I think Jack's probably using the same piece of paper that I taught him to use. You guys have one of these?
Is
You
that-
know where I found this?
Uh-uh.
All right. I'm sorry if I'm going over for you guys, but this is valuable data.
Yes.
So just so you know, the statistics for the previous month come out on the 20th of every month or thereabouts. And I use a piece of data. You go to the MLS main page here, go under resources, market stats. And this will give you every MLS that is in, where'd it go? Excess monthly reports. This will give you every MLS that my Florida regional MLS does, but we are interested in Sarasota and Manatee County. If you like data, this is a fun report, but there's only one page that is important, and that to me, and it's page 8. And if you want to explain to somebody what's going on in the market, and if you learn how to use this report, and I should do a class, it's only a half-hour class on how to use this report to convince a buyer to buy and a seller to sell. This is a great tool. People want to know what's going on with the market, and I'll go, if you look, we normally carry between 7,500 and 8,000 homes at any given time. It's typically what we normally have. If you look at older reports here, that's what we always have. And we almost always sell between 1,100 and 1,500 homes. Then a funny thing happened on the way to COVID. We sold 2,500 homes in March of 2021, and we only had 1,700 on the market. And Jack, when I look at the median price or the average sale price, we went from what'd you use, April, 593 to 530.
Right, but I was using not necessarily this page, but the statistic reports that they send out, and I just took those numbers, plugged them into a spreadsheet so I could see it.
And this is
So
both
it's not as granular as yours.
And this is both Sarasota and Manatee County. This actually shows that values went down. That's not, this probably isn't a good number to utilize because it may mean that there's fewer upper end properties that are selling. So I'm gonna stick with where we've gone before. And what do we say, 10% since April? And so that'd be a $47,000 adjustment on this one. So now that's the last field that we've got on here. Now, if I look at this data, these houses are all about the same, they fall into the same range. These two do not. And so I might eliminate, and by the way, up until I made this $35,000 adjustment, this one was way off. And so I might go back over here to comparables and nuke this one. You could remove selected. And then come back in here to our adjustments. And so you can see these are relatively close. And probably one other reason there's such disparity, I didn't do a deep dive in some of the other conditions on these. But we did do pretty well on the location. But you want to see the median, you want to see all of these pretty close to one another, and you want to see the median and average pretty close to one another as well. And then you can finish it up by going to pricing. And this gives you this adjusted prices here. And I don't tell them what to price a house for. I basically restate the adjusted comparable, the average adjustable comparable price in your neighborhood is $421. The median adjustable price, comparable price in your neighborhood is $435. And then I just have a verbal discussion. I would have that in the market analysis because nobody wants to say you should put your house on it at $450 or whatever. What I'm going to do is go, these are the data. What do you think we ought to market your house at? You know, and I'll always ask, hey, have you looked at Zillow? And I never look at Zillow before I go out, and they always have. They'll tell you they haven't, but they know what their Zillow value is. And they also have a number in their mind. You're just showing them data with these numbers. You haven't committed yourself to anything. If you say, I think you should suggested list price, put it on at 425 or 430, you've put yourself in a box. The data says that this is what the average and this is what the median is. What do you think you ought to put it on the market? You know, do you guys have an idea what you want to put it on the market? Well, my neighbor just sold, for, 425, and that was 3 months ago. And I know things have gone up. We want to put it on for 475. And in that kind of discussion, I would look at it and go, well, the best median price we've got, and by the way, we've validated that all my comps are accurate, that they agree with me on the condition, price, and condition and location and things like that. I've gone through the numbers with them, and it may be a discussion. You may get 470, but what I'm finding in this market is sellers that are pricing ahead of the market. That's why we're seeing the average days on market are starting to get longer because sellers are doing exactly what you want to do. What I'd like to do in this kind of market is help you create an auction type environment. And what I'm finding is if you put it right in at what today's market value is, then you can expect multiple offers. And we hope that some of those multiple offers will be greater than list price. And you may get values up to your 475 that you're looking for. In fact, last month I put one on the market for 330 and we got 420 for it. And you know, and give them that kind of anecdote. And you guys can say that. Use me as an example. Oh, you know, one of the agents in my office put one on last month for 330 and they got 420 for it. So,
That's insanity.
but, and so don't commit ahead of time to this piece of paper of what you think the value should be, because you're gonna put yourself in a box and you're gonna lose if the next guy comes in with a higher value or agrees to list it for a higher value. So, but to me, in my mind, I wouldn't pay more, if all of this data was accurate, I wouldn't pay more than 435 for this house. I would probably suggest that 430 is the number that's going to attract the most offers for them. And that's where we would go. So now you've got this done. And let me show you what your end product is.
A question while we're waiting.
Uh-huh.
What if you have a big inaccuracy between what IMAP says the square footage is, 2,600, and what the last two listings of this property sold the square footage at 3,200?
I'm using the MLS.
Okay,
And then,
that's what I'm going with.
and then validate that when we get in there, when we sit down.
Well,
You know, I'll
they
ask the
don't-
seller,
yes.
you know,
What-
the
yeah,
tax man has you
Yes.
at fewer square footage.
right.
I hope you got 32 and you're beating the tax guy because he thinks you've got 2,800 square feet.
Yeah, I said, the
Good for
good
you.
news is you've been paying taxes on the 2,600 square feet. The bad news is I see from previous MLS listings that it was this square.
And
feet.
you're gonna sell it at 32 as a 3,200 square foot, so you gotta price it as a 3,200 square
Yes,
foot, right?
exactly, exactly.
So here's what this looks like, and I will explain to somebody. And by the way, the one thing I don't like about this report is it starts with the lowest value home. I always go to the highest value home because it makes their number look better usually. Yeah, it does. So what I say is, you know, I explain to them how I'm comparing your house to the house down the street. The house down the street is exactly like yours, but they have a pool and they don't. The way I'm going to value your house is I'm going to look at what they sold for, and I have to take that pool away and say, what would their house sell for without a pool? And there's a value to that. And then I will explain that to them as I go through this and go basically with the most expensive one and explain not line by line. You can see, Mr. Seller, this one is 200 square feet larger than yours. So I have to make him smaller. And there's a price per square foot value to that. And I have to make him smaller by taking that value away. I see he's a 2-story. In our market, 2 stories aren't quite as valuable. People don't want them because we have an older population. So we find that's about a $10,000 value adjustment. And actually, I need to add 10,000 to this guy. See, this is why you should look at your CMAs. I took 10,000 off. I need to add it. Having a 2-story is a negative, not a positive. So,
That's, I get confused on that part, and I know
Yeah.
that's like the simplest thing, but I get confused. So the comp is here. If the subject is here, and if the comp is better, then we have.
you have to take it, you have to take the pool away.
That's fine. Yeah, and you did, it's right. Took $10,000.
Oh, you're right, I did take it off. Yeah. He-
Take the pool.
Yeah, I have to make him a 1-story.
Mhm.
And so I have to take that off.
And you're subtracting.
No,
the
he
comp.
got $10,000 less because he has 2 stories. I have to add 10,000 to him. He would be worth $10,000 more if he was a 1-story house. And so, yes, I did this wrong. So take a lesson from me, I did this wrong.
Okay, that's what scares me now.
All right?
All right, so.
You want to subtract.
I want to add the 10,000 back because his second story is a negative.
Okay.
So the subject gets, no, it's never the subject, the.
The
comps are
comp,
where the.
you have to make the comp look like the subject.
Yeah.
You always have to make the comp look like the subject. And if 2 stories are worth less and you take the second floor off, you've made him worth more. So you got to add $10,000 back to it. To the comp. Then, and usually you're taking away something physical. Here, we're taking away the second floor and adding, but if you're, if you're taking away a pool, you're taking the pool away,
Thank you. No, let me grab it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. you're taking the pool away. So I will go through this with them. And then here's the chance that you can go, well, you know, you didn't see this guy's pool. He spent $150,000 on it. You know, the neighbors know what the neighbors did. And I go, you know what? I probably didn't make enough of an adjustment on this guy's pool. And I'll line through that $20,000 and whatever we agree on is the pool adjustment. I'll make it right there on the fly. And then adjust this number down here on the bottom. I'll line through it and write another number. And then I'll line through this number and make another number. And then as we're going through the, and I will also, so when I put together a CMA packet, I have this CMA in the packet. I have the cut sheets for all my comps that I'm using in that packet. I will have the cut. Yeah, the MLS sheets.
Yes.
I will have the MLS sheets for all the pendings that I think are comparable in that packet. And I'll have the MLS sheets for all the actives. And I'll also have my quick CMA in there. Because we can go back and reference it. You know, I'll say new windows here, and I'll take them over and go, you know, see here, they've got new windows throughout this house. And I have this and I have a highlighter, and I'll be highlighting it to show them, because when they go back, they'll forget how I talked about this, and they're going to be looking at this and they'll realize, wow, yeah, the Smiths have new windows and our old Jaluzi windows are, you know, aren't going to work. And then after I've just explained one, I'll ask them, so you understand the concept, right? Do you want me to go through the rest of these? And they'll go, no, we're good. And because not everybody's a number person. And so then we'll have the discussion about what price we're going to put it on. And, you know, in the market that we're in today, you put it on market price, you get an auction situation. You know, a different market, we may be, you know, you may want to go under market value and, you know, or you may want to, or it may be a market where, okay, 435 was the median price. We'll put it on 440, knowing people are negotiating 10% off market value on every home in this neighborhood. You have to price according to what is going on. And that's why your quick CMA, which is right here, tells you what, on average and median, they're selling homes at 102% of market value of our asking price. But typically, we are at these 93 to 96%. And, you know, when in a normal market, not today's market, if I said this house was worth 435, I'm going to bump it up 4% to give room to negotiate back off. And by the way, if you're working with a buyer in that kind of market, which is a regular market, by the way, you know, in the what is it? I've been in 11 years. I've been doing real estate in Florida. 10 of those years, it's normal market. And so when you take a buyer out, you know that you assume that the listing agent is expecting you to negotiate 4% off if that's what this number says. You know, list price to sale price ratios. But in the market we're in now, you just hope you write a contract and pray that it gets accepted. So
all that being said, I would use this exact same information to present to a buyer in preparing for an offer, right?
Yep.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And
so with a buyer, I would be much more quick about this.
Quick one. Right here.
Well, why would you do the quick one?
Versus the other one?
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling the other one's gonna take you a long time.
You just gotta know your data.
I just know that I use that one and I would use that with a buyer,
Yeah. I think you
I-
should, and it depends on if you do enough of these, you're gonna be pretty proficient, do it quick. If I weren't teaching this class, it's not an hour and a half for me to do this. I'm 10 minutes max. If I'm not making it presentation format, if I don't need to cut the picture out, save it, if I don't have to put the map thing in, if I'm doing it for a buyer, I'm just gonna find my comps, make those adjustments in this, on the adjustments page, and get back over here. I'm just gonna I'm not gonna present this to the buyer either. I'm gonna go, yeah, I did a CMA on this and I think you're paying the right price. They'll believe you. And if they don't, you can always come back and pretty this up and do it. But, this stuff, if you're just doing this component, finding the comps, which you have to find them anyway for the quick CMA, and making the adjustments, what if every house on your quick CMA was a Lakeview and you back up to Lorraine Road? Then your quick CMA sucks. It doesn't do anything. So. Any questions in Zoom land?
No, this has been great. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
guys.
Mark.
I'm in, you can find me easy enough. Just Google my name if you have questions. You can find me. I'm on Google, 5-star reviews.
The second, what value are you giving a 5-star review?
All right, thanks, everyone. My door's always open if you have questions. Feel free to call me. I'm not down the hall anymore here in the office, but I'm just down off of Fruitville and 75.
He used to be my neighbor, then he joined up.
All right, thank you guys for attending, and
That
I
was
hope you
great.
learned something.
Yeah, thank
That
you.
was great.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, I
So
think
he's not on a boat, that's a Zoom filter.
that's his filter. Yeah, like I said, I'm about the relationship, not the numbers. No, that's very helpful, but seriously, that's a crazy thing with that square footage, so you